Mistress pretends to be weak to move in with the millionaire husband, but the pregnant wife outsmarts her. In a sun-drenched mansion perched high above the city, Cassandra Redwood believed she was living a charmed life. Married to Marcus Redwood, a self-made millionaire known for his impeccable style and sparkling social presence, she was now expecting their first child. But beneath the gleaming facade lay a tangled web of secrets. Enter Sylvia Black, an alluring stranger who arrives with a frail demeanor and suspiciously tragic tales. Under the guise of helplessness, she insinuates herself into Marcus's life and right into Cassandra's home. Little do they know, Cassandra has more backbone and cunning than they ever anticipated, setting the stage for a battle of wits and survival. Cassandra Redwood first met Marcus at a technology summit in Silicon Valley. She was a marketing consultant, and he was the keynote speaker, an ambitious entrepreneur whose startup was attracting lavish investment. His presentation exuded confidence. He held the microphone as though he'd been born to command attention. Cassandra, equally driven, was enthralled by his magnetic aura. He was 10 years her senior, yet the spark between them was instantaneous. Within months, they were engaged. Their wedding made headlines in San Francisco society columns, and soon they moved into the Redwood estate, a sprawling, modern mansion overlooking the bay. Although Cassandra continued working for a while, she eventually shifted gears to focus on supporting Marcus and his burgeoning empire, Redwood Innovations. Marcus insisted her keen insight and networking flair could help him strike bigger deals, and indeed, she became a key figure in shaping the company's public image. Their marriage wasn't without challenges, however. Marcus's schedule grew hectic with constant travel. Private jets and black tie events became the norm. Cassandra had to play hostess for potential investors and entrepreneurs at a moment's notice. Yet, in those early days, her energy matched his ambition. They were united by shared goals, forging deals together at lavish dinners. As the years rolled on, Redwood Innovations ballooned into a multi-million-dollar venture, and talk of children began to surface. Cassandra had reservations, fearing motherhood might force her onto the sidelines of the very empire she helped build. But Marcus assured her that they'd hire the best staff and nannies money could buy. Eventually, Cassandra warmed to the idea, especially after she turned 33, and the pangs for a family became harder to ignore. By the time Cassandra confirmed her pregnancy, Redwood Innovations had soared, with Marcus at its helm. Their social circle included the city's top influencers and philanthropists. Despite the pressure and constant demands on Marcus's time, Cassandra felt a rekindled closeness. He'd rush home from meetings just to ask about her prenatal checkups or to rest his hand against her growing belly. She felt cherished, imagining the Redwood legacy passing to their future child. Yet, as Cassandra's pregnancy advanced, she began noticing subtle changes in Marcus. He seemed more on edge, as though distracted by something beyond mere corporate deadlines. His phone buzzed at odd hours, and he'd step away to answer with hushed urgency. Cassandra tried to brush away her concerns. He was, after all, a man in high demand. But a gnawing anxiety told her something was amiss. It was during this period of mounting unease that Sylvia Black arrived in their orbit. She showed up at one of Marcus's charity galas, introduced by an acquaintance of a friend, nobody. Cassandra really knew. Sylvia seemed pleasant enough, dressed modestly, offering a shy smile. She claimed to be a freelance graphic designer, lauding Redwood Innovations for its philanthropic efforts. Cassandra, busy greeting other guests, paid little attention beyond polite conversation. She had no inkling of the role Sylvia would soon play in her life, or that Sylvia harbored hidden motivations. Still, the woman's overly soft-spoken demeanor and downcast eyes might have been early warning signs. Cassandra would later replay that first meeting in her mind, questioning every exchange, every polite smile. At the time, though, she was blissfully unaware that her carefully constructed world was on the brink of upheaval. For the moment, Cassandra resolved to focus on her pregnancy and the promise of building a future Redwood generation. Unbeknownst to her, fate was setting the stage for a grand confrontation, one that would test her wit, resolve, and the very foundations of her marriage. Life at the Redwood estate took an unexpected turn when Sylvia Black began appearing with uncanny frequency. First, she popped up at a gallery show Cassandra hosted to raise funds for a local children's hospital, claiming she was there to offer her design skills for free. Next, she arrived at a Redwood Innovations product launch, standing off to the side, quietly observing Marcus's every move. At first, Cassandra dismissed these encounters as coincidences. Sylvia seemed harmless, slight in build, soft-spoken, with a faint trembling in her voice, as though perpetually anxious. She portrayed herself as an underdog, someone who faced health issues that hindered her from holding a steady job. "I just want to contribute my talents where I can," she'd say with a meek smile. Yet Cassandra's friend Christine Lang, a sharp-eyed attorney, wasn't convinced. Christine had attended the same product launch, and she took Cassandra aside in hushed concern. "That Sylvia woman? She's giving me odd vibes," Christine muttered. "She's too eager to cling to Redwood Innovations, but also too vague about her background." Cassandra blinked, considering Christine's words. A pit of unease formed in her stomach, but she tried to maintain faith in Marcus's philanthropic mission. Redwood Innovations often supported freelancers and small businesses, so maybe Sylvia's presence was just an example of Marcus's generosity. "I'll keep an eye on her," Cassandra promised, though she wasn't yet convinced there was any real danger. One afternoon, Sylvia unexpectedly showed up at the Redwood Mansion's gates, looking pale and disoriented. The security staff rang Cassandra, who found Sylvia leaning against the front entrance, a delicate hand to her forehead. "I'm so sorry to intrude," Sylvia murmured. "I was on my way to meet a prospective client nearby, but I started feeling faint. I remembered you lived close by." Cassandra, now in her second trimester and well acquainted with the vulnerabilities that come with physical changes, felt a pang of compassion. She invited Sylvia inside and insisted that she rest on a sofa in the living room. The woman's face was clammy, her breath shallow. Cassandra dispatched one of their household staff to bring water and a light snack. Moments later, Marcus stepped into the foyer, returning from a morning meeting. His eyes widened slightly upon seeing Sylvia curled on the couch. Cassandra explained the situation, expecting him to show polite concern. Instead, Marcus's expression flickered with something akin to alarm before he masked it behind a courteous smile. "Sylvia, you should see a doctor," he offered, though his tone was stiff. "Would you like me to arrange an appointment?" Sylvia managed a weak laugh. "I'll be fine. I just need a moment." She seemed to shrink under his gaze, as though frightened of him. Cassandra noticed, but she couldn't fathom why Sylvia would be intimidated by Marcus, who generally championed the underdog. Over the next half hour, Sylvia nibbled on crackers and sipped water, painting a tragic picture of her fragile health. She shared tidbits of her difficult upbringing, her parents' early passing, and the autoimmune condition that left her exhausted. Cassandra's heart ached for the woman, but a stray glance at Marcus revealed a conflicted tension in his posture. Eventually, Sylvia thanked them profusely and left, but not without making a subtle request. "If it's not too much trouble," she said, lowering her eyes demurely, "could I call you if I ever feel this ill again? I don't have many people in this city I can rely on." Cassandra, swept by compassion, agreed. The moment Sylvia was gone, Marcus disappeared into his study, shutting the door behind him. Cassandra pondered Christine's warning. Something about Sylvia felt off. But she couldn't have guessed how quickly this perceived weakness would morph into a manipulative wedge, threatening all she held dear. The Redwood estate buzzed with preparations for the exclusive Redwood Innovations Anniversary Gala. This annual event showcased the company's milestones and philanthropic achievements, attracting CEOs, investors, and local celebrities. Cassandra, despite her pregnancy fatigue, was determined to make the gala a triumph. Marcus seemed oddly preoccupied, brushing off some of the finer decisions to Cassandra and deflecting her questions about certain guest list changes. It wasn't until 2 days before the gala that Cassandra noticed Sylvia Black's name among the VIP attendees. When she confronted Marcus about it, he shrugged dismissively. "She's a freelancer who contributed to some marketing materials," he said, avoiding eye contact. "We invited a group of them. It's no big deal." Cassandra pressed further. "But she's hardly a top-tier contributor. Why label her as VIP?" Marcus's jaw tightened. It was an administrative slip, perhaps. "Let's not overthink it, Cassie." He planted a quick kiss on her cheek and fled the conversation. Usually, Cassandra would accept his dismissals, chalking them up to stress. This time, his abrupt manner left her uneasy. On the evening of the gala, the Redwood mansion was transformed into a glittering wonderland. Soft jazz drifted through the air as guests in designer attire sipped champagne and mingled amid lush floral arrangements. Cassandra wore a flowing emerald gown that accentuated her baby bump, greeting guests with practiced poise. Still, her eyes scanned the crowd, searching for Sylvia's unmistakably timid figure. Sure enough, Sylvia arrived late, swathed in a pale lavender dress that highlighted her delicate frame. She moved hesitantly through the crowd, as if overwhelmed by the opulence. Cassandra caught sight of Marcus, discreetly pulling Sylvia aside near the edge of the ballroom. From her vantage point, Cassandra couldn't hear their conversation, but she saw Sylvia's eyes glisten with what appeared to be tears, while Marcus's expression remained stern. Sylvia eventually rejoined the crowd, approaching Cassandra with hands trembling. "Oh, Cassandra," she whispered, glancing around as though terrified. "May we speak privately?" Although exhaustion nibbled at Cassandra, she nodded, guiding Sylvia to a quiet corner. "I'm truly sorry to burden you," Sylvia began, voice quivering. I'm in a desperate situation. The place I've been staying, the landlord is selling the property. I have nowhere to go, no family nearby. I can't handle the stress on my health." Cassandra felt a pang of alarm. "That's awful, Sylvia. I'm so sorry. But are there any friends who can take you in, or perhaps a short-term rental you could afford?" Tears welled in Sylvia's eyes, threatening to spill. "I wish. My finances are tight, especially with my medical bills. I know it's a lot to ask, but I hoped maybe Marcus could help me find a temporary solution." She let the words linger, fiddling with the lace on her dress. Cassandra's first instinct was caution. She barely knew Sylvia, and Christine's warnings echoed in her mind. But the woman looked genuinely distraught, and Cassandra's own moral compass balked at the idea of leaving someone ill out on the street. "Let me think about it," she said diplomatically. "We can discuss options with Marcus. Perhaps Redwood Innovations can arrange some sort of short-term accommodation fund." Sylvia's face lit with a hopeful glow, yet something in her eyes seemed calculated. Cassandra politely excused herself, promising to see what she could do. Later, catching Marcus alone proved difficult, but she eventually found him sipping a drink by the fireplace. As soon as she mentioned Sylvia's plight, a flicker of frustration crossed his face. "We'll handle it," he muttered tersely. "Let's just get through this gala." Despite the music and laughter swirling around them, Cassandra sensed a storm brewing beneath the polished veneer. The mistress of the house was pregnant. The so-called weak outsider pleaded for sanctuary, and the head of the household seemed tangled in silent conflict. Cassandra had no clue that Sylvia's next move would be far bolder, thrusting them all into a battle that would rock the Redwood estate to its core. Barely a week after the gala, Cassandra's worst suspicions became reality. Sylvia Black arrived at the Redwood estate unannounced, a single suitcase in hand. She stood on the marble steps, her eyes red from crying, or so it seemed. The guard at the gate had already alerted Cassandra. Before she could summon Marcus or decide what to do, she found herself staring at Sylvia's pitiful figure. "I'm so sorry to show up like this, Cassandra," Sylvia said in a quavering voice. "My landlord demanded I move out sooner than expected. I didn't know where else to turn. I'll only stay until I can figure something else out." Cassandra's mouth went dry. She recalled her conversation with Marcus about helping Sylvia find an arrangement, but never did she imagine the woman would appear on their doorstep. She wondered if Marcus had quietly extended an invitation, or if Sylvia was simply pushing her luck. However, with her hormones raging from the pregnancy and her empathy stirred by the situation, Cassandra hesitated to dismiss Sylvia outright. Marcus arrived then, his face betraying alarm. "Sylvia, I told you we'd sort this out," he said, voice low. "You shouldn't have come here." Sylvia's lower lip quivered. "I had no choice. I'm sorry, truly." She seemed on the verge of collapsing. Cassandra saw Marcus clench his jaw. He looked trapped, and that alone raised Cassandra's suspicion. But for the moment, the pressing issue was that Sylvia needed a place to stay. After a tense, whispered exchange, Marcus pulled Cassandra aside. "I'll arrange for a hotel or short-term rental," he proposed hastily. "We can't have her here." Cassandra narrowed her eyes. "She's in no condition to be shuttled around right now. At least let her rest tonight. Tomorrow, we'll figure something out." She felt her own brand of protective pride. While she disliked the idea of a near stranger sleeping under her roof, she also couldn't bear to be cruel. That evening, Sylvia was given a modest guest room on the lower floor. Cassandra made sure the staff brought extra blankets and herbal tea. Marcus stayed mostly sequestered in his study, making furtive phone calls. Cassandra wanted to confront him, demand an explanation for his odd tension around Sylvia, but her pregnancy fatigue enveloped her like a blanket of lead. She decided to address it the following day. Unfortunately, by morning, Sylvia claimed her condition had worsened. She emerged from the guest room looking pale, complaining of dizziness. Concerned staff members fussed around her. Cassandra watched from a distance, uncertain whether the woman's frailty was genuine or a performance. In any case, forcibly removing her would have felt heartless and likely cause a scene. Days turned into a week, and Sylvia remained at the Redwood estate. She appeared at breakfast, apologizing for being a burden, then retreated to her room or the library. Despite her supposed weakness, she occasionally found ways to cross paths with Marcus, cornering him with urgent whispers. More than once, Cassandra caught them in hush-hush conversations, which ended abruptly when she walked in. Increasingly worried, Cassandra invited Christine Lang over for tea, hoping to confide in a friend who might cut through the confusion. Christine listened intently, frowning. "Cassandra, you have to be careful. This woman might be playing you or both of you. Ask yourself, why is Marcus so tense around her? And how did she know it would be so easy to move in?" Cassandra felt a twinge of guilt. He's probably just stressed about Redwood Innovations. There's a big merger coming up. Yet, even as she voiced these excuses, she suspected deeper secrets were at play. Christine nodded sympathetically. "Just don't let your guard down. She's in your home now, which gives her access to your personal life, and more importantly, your husband." Cassandra's hand moved protectively to her pregnant belly. She had to figure out the truth behind Sylvia's frailty act. If this woman was truly in need, she would help. But if Sylvia had ulterior motives, Cassandra would protect her family at all costs. Sylvia's presence began to warp the atmosphere in the Redwood mansion. Every morning, Cassandra would awaken to the baby's gentle kicks and vow to maintain peace for the sake of her child. But that became increasingly difficult as she witnessed Sylvia weaving herself deeper into the household routines. The staff, sympathetic to Sylvia's health complaints, offered her comfort and attention. She softly expressed gratitude, saying she'd never received such kindness before. Even the housekeeper, Rosa, commented on Sylvia's fragile condition. "Signora, she can hardly eat without feeling faint. We must be patient with her." Yet Cassandra noticed that whenever she or Marcus were absent, Sylvia seemed perfectly capable, alert even. Christine's cautions echoed in Cassandra's mind, urging her to see the bigger picture. Over dinner one evening, Cassandra decided to broach the topic with Marcus directly. He sighed, brushing aside her concerns. "We're helping someone in need," he argued, though his eyes flickered nervously. "I'm sure once she's stable, she'll leave." But the more he insisted on a benign explanation, the more Cassandra sensed he was hiding something. She replayed the memory of him whispering with Sylvia at the gala and the tension that flared every time Sylvia appeared unannounced in the estate. Was there an affair? Or was it something else entirely, perhaps financial or legal entanglements? One rainy afternoon, Cassandra caught sight of Sylvia hurrying upstairs when she believed no one was watching. Intrigued, Cassandra followed at a distance. Sylvia slipped into Marcus's private study, the one place in the mansion. Cassandra seldom entered unless Marcus invited her. Heart pounding, Cassandra crept closer and heard murmured voices. Clutching her phone for support, Cassandra managed to eavesdrop through the slightly ajar door, Sylvia voice trembling. "You promised you'd help me. I can't live like this." Always looking over my shoulder. Marcus sighing. "I did what I could. We're working on the legal side, but you can't stay here forever." "Cassandra is," Sylvia pleading. "I have nowhere else. If I leave, those people might find me. I need more money." "Marcus, keep it down." Cassandra felt her stomach knot. Money? Legal side? So there was indeed some deeper arrangement. She backed away before she could hear more, terrified of being caught. Retreating to her bedroom, she sank onto the bed, her mind swirling with questions. Who's chasing Sylvia? Why does Marcus feel obligated to protect her? Despite the anxiety, Cassandra resolved to remain calm and gather more information. That evening, she rang Christine Lang, explaining what she'd overheard without going into every detail. "Marcus may be in some legal or financial entanglement with her," Cassandra whispered, "and she's leveraging that to stay here." Christine suggested a discreet approach. "If we're dealing with possible blackmail or an under-the-table agreement, we need evidence. Keep your eyes open, but don't confront them directly yet. And be careful, Cassandra's stress could harm you and your baby." Cassandra agreed, though her heart pounded with dread. She hated the feeling of suspicion and secrecy poisoning her home. She also worried that confronting Marcus might push him away or escalate whatever was happening with Sylvia. But she had no choice. She had to protect her family. Later that night, she walked through the dimly lit corridors, the hush punctuated by distant thunder. Passing Sylvia's guest room, she heard soft sobbing or maybe laughter. It was hard to tell. Cassandra placed a hand over her belly, drawing strength from the life growing inside her. "I'll find out your secrets, Sylvia Black," she thought, a quiet resolve blooming, "and I'll make sure you don't destroy what I've built." Cassandra's investigations began in small, subtle ways. She asked the staff to keep a log of Sylvia's comings and goings, strictly for household security, she explained. She also rummaged through Redwood Innovations' press releases to see if Sylvia's name appeared in any official capacity. Nothing. Sylvia existed in a shadowy space, present enough to cause tension, but invisible on paper. One evening, Cassandra discovered a few receipts on Marcus's desk from a private clinic. The patient's name had been redacted, but the date coincided with the day Sylvia first appeared at the mansion, claiming illness. Her heart lurched. Could it be that Marcus was quietly footing her medical bills? And if so, why hide it? Meanwhile, Sylvia continued to project an image of helplessness within the household. She'd drift into the living room while Cassandra was reading, apologizing profusely for interrupting. "I'm feeling dizzy again," she'd whisper, a trembling hand at her temple as if awaiting a nurse's immediate attention. The staff doted on her, although Cassandra often sensed a cunning glint in Sylvia's eyes whenever they locked gazes. Marcus grew more distant. He spent long hours in his study or at Redwood Innovations headquarters. He made excuses about a looming merger, but Cassandra guessed his absences had more to do with Sylvia's presence. A quiet tension hung between husband and wife. At dinner, their conversations were forced, overshadowed by the unspoken question, "Why is this woman still here?" Desperate for concrete answers, Cassandra asked Christine Lang for a favor. "Could you run a discreet background check on Sylvia Black?" she requested over the phone. Christine hesitated, warning that such investigations could be risky if discovered. But Cassandra insisted, "I need to know who she really is. She's not just a random freelancer with health problems, Christine. I can feel it." A few days later, Christine called back with preliminary findings. There's not much on her. No social media presence, no stable employment history. There was a Sylvia Black who filed a restraining order against an ex-boyfriend in Seattle, but the details are sealed. Christine paused, then added, "And get this, she's used multiple aliases in the past. No record of criminal convictions, but definitely a pattern of suspicious behavior, short-term stays. Large sums of money changing hands, then disappearing." The revelation confirmed Cassandra's worst fears. Sylvia was not just a helpless victim. She'd orchestrated similar arrangements before. "She might be a professional manipulator," Christine said gently. "Perhaps she extorts money by preying on people's sympathy or some hidden guilt." Armed with this knowledge, Cassandra confronted Marcus one evening as he emerged from the study. "Marcus, I know Sylvia isn't who she claims to be," she began, voice trembling despite her resolve. "I overheard bits of your conversation. She's asking you for money, isn't she?" His face paled. "Cassandra, this isn't something you need to worry about." She cut him off, tears burning in her eyes. "But she's living in our home, Marcus. I'm carrying your child. Don't you think I deserve the truth?" Marcus raked a hand through his hair, clearly torn. "I made a mistake a while back. A big one. Sylvia knew about it and threatened to expose me if I didn't help her. I never wanted her to move in, but I couldn't risk a scandal with Redwood Innovations in the middle of major deals." Cassandra felt a surge of rage and betrayal. "What kind of mistake?" she demanded. Marcus swallowed hard. "It's complicated. Let's just say it could destroy the company and everything we've built." Stunned and furious, Cassandra realized the stakes were higher than she imagined. Sylvia wasn't merely an unwelcome guest. She wielded a damaging secret. But Cassandra was determined now more than ever. She would protect her child and her legacy, no matter what dark secrets her husband had to reveal. As Cassandra struggled with Marcus's partial confession, she also grappled with the betrayal she felt. If he'd committed some act that gave Sylvia the power to blackmail him, what did that say about their marriage and trust? The Redwood Mansion, once her haven, now felt claustrophobic, with a scheming interloper lurking in every corner. Determined to regain control, Cassandra devised a plan. She'd feign acceptance of Sylvia's presence, playing along with the kindness everyone else afforded her. Meanwhile, she would track Sylvia's every move. If Sylvia truly was blackmailing Marcus, Cassandra needed proof, some record of demands, evidence of hush money, or any incriminating conversation. Only then could she oust Sylvia and protect her family from scandal. "Be careful," Christine Lang cautioned when Cassandra shared her strategy. "People like Sylvia thrive on deception. One slip, and she'll know you're onto her. Cassandra acknowledged the risk, but felt she had no other choice. So Cassandra practiced her act. She invited Sylvia to join her for tea in the sunroom, expressing concern about her health. "Have you considered alternative treatments?" Cassandra asked gently, watching Sylvia stir honey into her cup. "I can recommend a great specialist if you'd like." Sylvia's gaze flickered with surprise. "That's kind of you, but I've tried so many treatments already. Nothing seems to work," she offered a wan smile. "Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever be truly well." Cassandra nodded sympathetically, but inwardly she studied Sylvia's body language. How was it that this woman, so supposedly frail, had the energy to keep up with Redwood Innovations events and hold clandestine meetings with Marcus? "We'll figure something out," Cassandra said softly, masking her suspicion. Later that week, Cassandra arranged a ladies' lunch under the guise of welcoming Sylvia into society. She invited a few acquaintances known for their discerning eyes, including Christine. Over salad and mineral water in the mansion's formal dining room, Sylvia played the role of shy newcomer flawlessly. She recounted her childhood hardships in trembling tones, earning murmurs of pity from the women. Yet Christine covertly observed every nuance, occasionally sharing pointed glances with Cassandra. When the lunch ended, one of the guests, a well-connected philanthropist named Marion Bird, pulled Cassandra aside. "She's quite the delicate flower, isn't she?" Marion whispered. "Something about her story doesn't fully add up, though. I can't place it, but my instincts say she's not as helpless as she appears." Cassandra felt a rush of validation. She wasn't imagining Sylvia's duplicity. Others picked up on it too. The challenge lay in proving it. That evening, Cassandra convinced Marcus to leave the mansion, urging him to network at a business mixer while she kept Sylvia company. Marcus reluctantly agreed, seemingly relieved to escape the tension. Once Marcus was gone, Cassandra implemented the second phase of her plan. She quietly reactivated hidden security cameras installed throughout the mansion devices. They'd once used for privacy when hosting corporate guests. These cameras captured audio and video, and Cassandra angled them to monitor hallways and key common areas. She hoped to catch Sylvia dropping her facade or rummaging where she shouldn't. Her efforts paid off sooner than expected. Just past midnight, Cassandra sat in her bedroom with a tablet, scanning live feeds. She watched as Sylvia, wearing her usual flowy nightgown, emerged from her guest room and tiptoed towards Marcus's study. After a moment of fumbling, Sylvia picked the lock with surprising deftness, slipping inside. Cassandra's pulse quickened. So much for being weak. She tapped the record button, capturing Sylvia rummaging through drawers, scanning documents, even fiddling with a locked file cabinet. After nearly 15 minutes, Sylvia retreated, a satisfied smirk on her face as she glided back to her room. Cassandra exhaled shakily, a surge of triumph mingled with dread. She now had tangible proof that Sylvia was snooping or worse. The question was, what exactly was Sylvia looking for? And how could Cassandra use this evidence to decisively remove her from their lives? Cassandra wasted no time in sharing the footage with Christine Lang the next morning. Sitting together in Christine's office, they watched Sylvia's late-night foray into Marcus's study. The video quality was grainy but clear enough to show Sylvia opening drawers and sifting through documents. "This is perfect," Christine said, pausing the video. "It proves she's not just a fragile guest. She's actively searching for something likely, whatever leverage she can gather." Cassandra's heart pounded. "Can we use this to get her out? Threaten legal action?" Christine nodded. "Absolutely. But we need Marcus on board. He has to understand that continuing to harbor her only escalates the risk." Yet Cassandra worried about how to approach her husband. She couldn't shake the memory of his confession, a mistake so severe. Sylvia could blackmail him. If Cassandra cornered him with this footage, he might double down on protecting Sylvia to shield his own secret. Still, she had to try. That evening, Cassandra confronted Marcus in their bedroom, showing him the video on her tablet. He paled. "She's rummaging through my private files," he rasped, sinking onto the edge of the bed. "What exactly is she looking for, Marcus?" Cassandra asked, voice trembling. "What is it that she's holding over you?" He closed his eyes, breathing heavily. "A year ago, I made an illegal move in a corporate acquisition. I bribed a smaller firm's board member to silence a scandal that would have derailed Redwood Innovations' expansion." He paused, grimacing. "Sylvia has evidence of that transaction, proof that would land me in legal trouble and destroy the company's reputation." Cassandra felt a torrent of emotions, betrayal, anger, but also heartbreak. For years she'd trusted Marcus's ethics. Now she learned he'd compromised them in secret. "So this is why she came to you for money, posing as a desperate woman," Cassandra said, her voice quavering. He nodded miserably. "She stumbled upon records when she was contracted as a freelancer. She threatened to go public unless I paid. I've been buying her silence, hoping to quietly rectify that past mistake. But I never expected her to move in here." Cassandra pressed a hand to her forehead. "We need to put a stop to this. She's crossing every boundary." Marcus exhaled. "But if we force her out, she'll release that evidence." Cassandra's gaze hardened. "She won't if we outsmart her. Right now, she thinks she holds all the cards. We have footage of her trespassing in your private study. We can use it as leverage." Marcus stared at his wife, a glimmer of hope mingling with fear. "What if she tries to leak my secret anyway?" Cassandra pursed her lips. "We'll be prepared. I'll speak with Christine. We can craft a legal strategy, maybe a private settlement that ensures both parties walk away. Or we can threaten criminal charges for trespassing and blackmail if she pushes us." Marcus stood, shoulders sagging under the weight of guilt. "I'm so sorry, Cassie. I never wanted to drag you into this." Her heart clenched, recalling the love that once bound them. She was pregnant, exhausted, and now embroiled in a scandal that could shatter everything they'd built. "We'll deal with this," she said, voice firm. "But remember, you brought this on us. Don't ever lie to me like this again." In that charged moment, they formed an uneasy alliance, two flawed souls determined to protect their unborn child and their life's work. The plan was simple: confront Sylvia with the evidence of her deceit and force her to relinquish her blackmail. Yet, Cassandra suspected nothing would be simple about dealing with a woman as cunning as Sylvia Black. Little did they know, Sylvia had anticipated their countermove and had one more devastating twist to unleash. Cassandra spent the next day meticulously coordinating with Christine Lang, drafting a strategy that balanced caution and assertiveness. They planned to confront Sylvia with a calm but resolute approach, presenting the security footage as indisputable proof of her wrongdoing. The goal: make her leave quietly, under the threat of legal repercussions if she exposed Marcus's scandal. However, Sylvia surprised them by striking first. Early that evening, just as Cassandra was gathering her nerve, the sound of raised voices echoed from the living room. She hurried downstairs to find Sylvia lying on the floor, clutching her chest. Marcus and two startled staff members hovered over her. Sylvia's face was twisted in apparent agony. I can't breathe," Sylvia gasped, tears streaming down her cheeks. "My heart. It feels like it's pounding out of my chest." Cassandra's immediate instinct was worry, but something in Sylvia's performance felt almost theatrical. Nonetheless, the staff panicked, offering water and calling for an ambulance. Sylvia continued to moan, whimpering about chest pains. By the time paramedics arrived, her trembling was so convincing that even Cassandra's doubts wavered. She was rushed to a nearby hospital, with Marcus riding in the ambulance while Cassandra followed in a separate car. Once there, medical staff took Sylvia for tests, leaving Cassandra and Marcus in an anxious waiting room. Cassandra gripped her pregnant belly, tension making her head throb. Was this another ploy to garner sympathy, or was Sylvia genuinely ill? An hour later, a doctor emerged, looking solemn. "We've run a preliminary check, miss. Black has an irregular heartbeat, possibly linked to extreme stress or an existing condition. She's stable for now, but we'll keep her overnight for observation." Cassandra exchanged a stunned glance with Marcus. If Sylvia truly had a legitimate medical crisis, their plan to confront her might be complicated. Publicly evicting a woman with a heart condition would appear heartless, especially if she spun the story to the press. As they stepped into Sylvia's hospital room, they found her pale and hooked to Anne the Fourth. She blinked at them through watery eyes. "I'm so sorry," she said, voice quivering. "I didn't want to cause trouble. I've had these heart issues for a while, but they got worse with everything going on." Marcus pressed his lips into a thin line, apparently torn between guilt and suspicion. Cassandra, however, recalled Christine's background check. No mention of a cardiac ailment. Still, it was possible Sylvia had kept it hidden. "We want you to recover," Cassandra said carefully. "Focus on your health." Sylvia clutched Marcus's hand weakly. "Thank you. I know I've been a burden. Once I'm discharged, I'll gather my things and leave your home, if that's what you want." A pang of confusion struck Cassandra. Why the sudden willingness to leave? She could sense an undercurrent of manipulation in Sylvia's watery gaze, like a spider weaving her next web. Back home, Cassandra and Marcus huddled in the study, ignoring the late hour. "If she truly leaves," Marcus said, "she might still expose the scandal. Maybe her hospital scare made her realize she can't fight this war." But Cassandra shook her head. "Or it's a new strategy. She might be trying to gain our sympathy before delivering the final blow." She paused, gazing out the window at the moonlit lawn. "Marcus, we can't let her slip away unscathed. We need a binding agreement, something that legally prevents her from going public." He nodded, voice grim. "We'll have Christine draw it up, but we should handle this delicately. If the press gets wind that Sylvia had a heart episode while under our roof, Redwood Innovations could face a PR nightmare." Weary and wary, they resolved to face Sylvia once she was discharged, forcing her to sign a confidentiality agreement in exchange for a settlement that would see her off for good if all went well. Little did they know, Sylvia's final gambit would outstrip any plan they'd laid, pitting cunning against cunning in a final dramatic showdown. Sylvia was discharged 2 days later, returning to the Redwood estate with doctor's orders to rest and manage stress. Cassandra quietly arranged for Christine Lang to visit that afternoon, armed with the necessary legal documents. The plan was straightforward: present Sylvia with a confidentiality and non-disclosure agreement, offer a one-time settlement, and usher her out. Cassandra escorted Sylvia to the library, a dignified, wood-paneled room chosen for its privacy, and handed her the papers. Marcus stood by, silent and tense. Christine, wearing her most professional demeanor, calmly outlined the terms. If Sylvia agreed not to reveal any information about Redwood Innovations or the Redwoods' personal affairs, she would receive a generous sum to cover her relocation and medical expenses. Sylvia listened, resting a hand over her chest as though this discussion pained her delicate heart. But rather than fear or compliance, Sylvia's eyes gleamed with a certain triumph. "You think you can pay me off so easily?" she asked, her voice lacking its usual tremor. "I'm afraid you're misunderstanding me. I don't just want money. I want security." Marcus's brow furrowed. "This arrangement," Sylvia cut him off. "I'm not finished. You see, I have in my possession the files and evidence of your illegal dealings, Marcus. I also have recordings of our private conversations. If anything happens to me, if I'm forced to leave with no safe haven, those files will automatically go to the authorities and a few major media outlets." Her gaze flicked to Cassandra. "I learned a few things about your dear husband's acquisitions. The blow to Redwood Innovations would be catastrophic. Christine interjected, voice steely. Are you blackmailing the Redwoods yet again? Because that is a crime, Miss Black. Sylvia's lips curved in a cold smile. Crime? Who'd believe that a frail woman with a heart condition is the real villain? The court of public opinion can be easily swayed, especially with the right sob story. She paused, letting her words sink in. If anything, your attempt to buy my silence looks like hush money. And hush money always leads to scandal. Cassandra felt her hand shake, the baby in her womb giving a restless kick, as if sensing the tension. So what do you propose? She asked, striving to keep her voice steady. Sylvia raised her chin. I want a permanent place here, at least until I can ensure my safety. Full access to Redwood Innovations healthcare coverage and monthly support. In exchange, I keep your secrets safe. Her gaze swept the room. And I assure you, my heart condition is real. Stress is deadly. Imagine if I collapsed on the street because you threw me out. The optics would be brutal. Silence choked the library. Even Christine seemed momentarily stunned by the audacity of Sylvia's demands. Cassandra stared at the woman who'd so effectively infiltrated her home and manipulated everyone around her. Marcus's shoulders sagged. It was clear he felt cornered again. But Cassandra refused to be beaten. She inhaled deeply, drawing courage from the life growing inside her. I've worked too hard to let this woman hold us hostage forever. She placed a hand on Christine's shoulder, then locked eyes with Sylvia. We'll consider your offer, Cassandra said, voice calm. But we need time. Give us until tomorrow morning to finalize terms. Sylvia nodded smugly. I'll be in my room then. Do let me know if you need anything. As Sylvia left the library, Christine exhaled sharply. Marcus sank into a leather armchair, burying his face in his hands. Cassandra maintained her composure, though inside she felt a storm brewing. She had one more card up her sleeve, something she'd prepared in secret, and now it was time to play it. That night, Cassandra quietly initiated her final move. She contacted a trusted investigative journalist named Jacob Medina, someone who had once worked with Redwood Innovations on philanthropic spotlights, but was known for his integrity. If anyone could handle the truth responsibly, it was Jacob. Cassandra told him she had critical information to share, but only if he agreed to protect certain individuals. Jacob, intrigued by her urgency, set up a discreet early morning meeting at a private cafe. Meanwhile, Cassandra confronted Marcus again. We can't live under Sylvia's blackmail, she said, pacing the bedroom. I've reached out to a journalist who can help us break the story on our terms. If we reveal your mistake in a controlled manner, take accountability, pay any legal fines it might be damaging, but Redwood Innovations can still survive. Sylvia loses all her power over us. Marcus looked stricken. You'd risk going public with my wrongdoing? After all we've done to build the company's reputation? Cassandra took his hands, remembering the love and ambition that once bonded them. Better a temporary scandal than a lifetime of blackmail. We have a baby on the way. We must free ourselves from this toxic situation. Reluctantly, Marcus agreed, though fear shadowed his eyes. He made Cassandra promise they'd consult Redwood Innovations' legal team if needed. Cassandra nodded, her mind already racing with the steps ahead. She reminded herself that Christine stood ready to handle any legal fallout. At dawn, Cassandra slipped out of the mansion and met Jacob Medina in the secluded corner of the cafe. Over the next hour, she recounted the entire ordeal from Marcus's illegal bribe to Sylvia's infiltration and blackmail. She showed him the footage of Sylvia prowling the study and even produced emails confirming the hush money transfers. The journalist's face grew grim. This is quite a story, Jacob muttered. But it will hurt Redwood Innovations. Are you certain this is the path you want to take? Cassandra's voice trembled. I'm certain. Marcus understands. We'll handle the repercussions, but we refuse to let Sylvia twist our lives any further. If we come clean, at least we're in control of the narrative. Jacob agreed to publish the story within 48 hours, promising to highlight Redwood Innovations' plan to rectify past misdeeds and commit to ethical reforms. Cassandra could only hope that transparency would temper the inevitable backlash. Returning home, Cassandra found Sylvia already in the living room, awaiting the final answer. Her posture exuded confidence. "I trust you've decided to meet my conditions," Sylvia said, arching a brow. "Or must I fetch my laptop and send out that incriminating material right now?" Cassandra's heart pounded, but her voice remained steady. "No need. Marcus and I are disclosing the truth ourselves to the public. By this time tomorrow, Redwood Innovations will have issued a statement and the media will know about the illegal bribe. Your blackmail loses its teeth." Sylvia's eyes widened, her cool composure faltering. You're exposing yourselves?" Marcus, standing by Cassandra's side, nodded. "It's the only way to break free from you, Sylvia. We'll deal with the consequences head on. You have nothing left to threaten us with." A flicker of panic crossed Sylvia's face. Then she tried a final gambit. "You'll ruin your own company. Think of your child. Your finances will suffer. Your name will be dragged through the mud." Cassandra inhaled, placing a hand on her pregnant belly. "I'd rather face adversity than let you continue manipulating us. We'll survive. But you'll face charges for blackmail, fraud, trespassing, and any other crimes we can prove. We have plenty of evidence." Sylvia's mouth opened, then closed. She glanced around as if seeking an escape route. Realizing she'd lost, she let out a ragged sigh. "Fine," she snarled. "I'll go. But don't expect me to vanish quietly. You'll both regret crossing me." Christine, who had waited in the hallway, stepped forward, phone in hand. "I suggest you leave now, Miss Black, before the authorities get involved." With that, Sylvia pivoted and stormed out, a storm cloud of fury swirling around her. Cassandra watched from the doorway, relief coursing through her veins. It was over the Mistress's hold on their lives was broken. Over the following days, Redwood Innovations braced for the fallout from Jacob Medina's revelations. Marcus publicly acknowledged his past error, apologized, and vowed reforms. It was a brutal process. Some investors pulled out, critics lashed them in the press. But ironically, the candor also garnered some respect. Many admired that they chose honesty over blackmail. In the end, Cassandra felt a sense of liberation. She and Marcus began rebuilding trust in their marriage, determined to raise their child in a home free from secrets and lies. As for Sylvia Black, rumors swirled that she'd been spotted in another city, peddling her tragic stories to new targets. But this time, Cassandra vowed never to let such manipulation take root again. She had outsmarted the pretender who feigned weakness and emerged stronger than ever before. Thank you for accompanying us through this whirlwind tale of secrets, manipulation, and redemption within the luxurious yet treacherous walls of the Redwood estate. Cassandra's resilience in protecting her unborn child and salvaging her marriage underscores a powerful lesson. Sometimes, facing the storm head on exposing your own vulnerability can be the most potent way to break free from a toxic grip. Sylvia Black's cunning ploy to wield weakness as a weapon ultimately backfired when confronted by a determined wife who refused to be underestimated. If you found yourself rooting for Cassandra's triumph, thrilled by the twists, or shocked by the betrayals, we invite you to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support fuels our passion for storytelling, enabling us to bring you more gripping dramas and unforgettable characters. Stay tuned for more stories that explore the strength of the human spirit and the power of truth. Thank you for watching.